about time for our interview. Are you ready, Sister Tracy?
I am. Interesting. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Joining me today at the Almighty Church of Rock radio show from the country of Spain, I'd like to introduce Si Mulvey to the show. Hello, Si.
Hello, and everybody out there. Nice to be speaking to you today.
What part of Spain do you reside in?
So we're just on the Costa Blanca, which if you imagine Spain is like a clock face, it's kind of about 4 o'clock. And we're about 20 kilometers, I guess about 16 miles from the Mediterranean coast. And it's very beautiful. And we've been here 3 years. And it's been 30 degrees today, which is probably about 90 something, I think. And in the one that you would use.
Yeah.
So very warm. Very warm.
The other day, man. Woo! It's hot.
Yeah. It's good.
So, previously, did you live in England or Scotland?
Oh, no, I was in England for the most part. I have kind of moved around quite a lot. I was in Los Angeles for a while, toward the end of the 80s for a couple of years, but other than that, in the UK.
At what age did you become a musician, Si?
Well, I mean, I learned things at school. In the UK, you learn guitar, you learn a few things at school, and then most people would give up and go and get regular jobs. My older brother was a bass player. And when punk was hitting the UK in about 1977-ish, 76, 77, he was involved in that scene in a big way. So I kind of got dragged into it. I was just a little bit too young to go to gigs. But there was always music around the house as a result of that. So really, that's kind of how it all started, you know?
Well, I have to ask real quick, who are some of your favorite punk rock bands?
Well, to me, because I'm an oldster, the proper punk bands are like the Sex Pistols, the Buzzcocks, the Undertones, the Clash.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Stuff. Now, weren't you in a version of the Bay City Rollers that featured Terry Chimes from the Clash on drum?
No, Terry was in the band prior to me. I think I came in a short time after he left, as I understand. Yeah.
So you were in bands before you met Les McEwen, correct?
Yeah. When I was in Los Angeles and I came back in 1990, and my first sort of proper gig was with a band called Doctor and the Medics. Now, they'd had a big hit with a song called Spirit in the Sky, which I think did okay in the US.
Wow. I remember Doctor and the Medics.
Ah, fantastic. Well, they're still going, without me, but they're still going. And then I started playing with a German singer called Nina Hagen, who is very big in... Do you know Nina Hagen?
Do you know Paul Roessler?
Oh, she had many people come through the band. That name sort of rings a distant bell.
Well, Paul Roessler was the keyboard player and writer for a lot of the Nina Hagen stuff. That's really interesting. And
fantastic.
With Paul.
Was that with Billy Lisa Gang had been playing guitar at that point?
He was playing keyboards.
Oh, okay. The keyboard player... Sorry, go on.
You played with Nina Hagen?
Yeah, for about 10 years on and off. Well, probably more than that. We came to the US a couple of times.
I'm a huge fan of Nina Hagen.
There you go. I mean, she's lovely. She's very crazy in her own way. But I mean, a fantastic sort of opera-trained singer who sings in a punky style. Just kind of amazing, really. Say again?
And she seems to be Hindu.
Yeah. I mean, she, as far as I'm aware, and she's, she was always very, very wonderful person, very much wonderful person, so it was a lot of fun, crazy times.
You actually really shocked me when you told me that you were with Doctor and the Medics and Nina Hagen. I had no idea.
There you go. When I was little.
Wow. I wish I would have known that. I did not do my homework properly, it seems.
Don't worry. It's all good.
Okay, so you were with Doctor and the Medics and Nina Hagen. What other bands have you been up until you met Les?
Well, really, it was I think coming out of the Nina Hagen thing kind of dovetailed into working with Les. So it all kind of, as one ended, the other one kind of, thankfully for me anyway, it kind of, as I say, kind of neatly went into the next sort of thing.
Were you a Bay City Rollers fan when those guys first hit?
I liked their more rockier stuff, but then again, I liked of that era. I like bands like Slade and Sweet. I think I've always kind of been a bit of a rocker at heart. So certainly the more rockier tunes, yeah.
How did you first meet Les McEwen?
Well, do you know, when I knew we were going to be doing this, I actually had to think to myself how it all came about. I had gone one night, I think it must have been early 90s, 91, 92. I went to the 100 Club, which is on Oxford Street in London. I don't know if you've ever been there.
It's very famous.
Very famous. Everybody from the Rolling Stones, Amy Winehouse, Sex Pistols, everybody's played there. I can't remember what the band was I was seeing, but when I was there, I met a fellow called John Berry. Now, John is now the bass player in Slade, but at the time, he was playing bass with Les and with Mud, and both bands were doing a fair bit of work, and John just couldn't basically do both bands. So he said to me, do you fancy, taking over from me in the Rollers? And I said, yeah, sure. And then the weird thing was, he gave me Les's number, and I called Les, and as huge a city as London is, I was living in one part of London, and Les lived literally 10 minutes down the road. And he had been all the time I'd been there for years. I had no idea. But, it was just strange that it was, as I say, we lived so close. So that first year, which would have been, I think, 92, we spent a lot of time between our two houses. There was a pub on a green, on a park. So we spent a lot of those first summer nights just sat outside the pub, drinking beer, talking about, how to move forward with things. And that's how it kind of started.
Wow. So let me ask, were you on the album Rock and Roll Love Letter with Ian Mitchell?
No, that wasn't.
So were you in the band after Ian was in with Les?
Yes, that's right. Have I met Ian? I don't think I've ever met Ian, actually.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
No, I haven't. No. I met Pat a couple of times. Pat McGlynn. He would come to our shows. He came to a few shows in Scotland when we were there.
I actually visited Pat last September in Edinburgh.
Oh, fantastic. How is he? I haven't spoken to him for donkey's years. Is he okay?
Depends what you mean by okay.
Oh. Okay. I'll read between the lines on that one.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad about Pat.
Sure. That's cool.
So I don't really have much good to say, so I'll leave it there.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not the kind of guy that wants to start drama,
Sure.
I know you were with the Rollers for quite a while, Si. How many years was it total?
Oh, it was 93 or 92, I should say, till 2019. I think my last gig was the 14th of April 2019 in Bournemouth on the south coast of England. So what's that, 19 and 27, 28 years, something like that? Quite a long time.
Wow, nearly 3 decades of your life.
Nearly 3 decades of my life. This is true.
The stories you know.
I should write a book, shouldn't I? Or maybe I shouldn't, actually.
Well, that was one of my stories. Have you considered it?
I haven't really had the time, to be honest with you. I'm just it's so busy all the time. To be honest with you, I've got the world's worst memory as well. So I've probably forgotten more than I can remember, in all honesty.
I thought I had the world's worst memory.
One of us does.
Si, can I ask?
1 and 2. Go on, sorry.
I was wondering your age.
Oh, I'm 50. What am I? 58. 58.
Oh
now.
my God, you're 1 year older than me.
There you go. Have you had your birthday this year yet?
In March, yeah. I turned 57 in March.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday for March. Cool.
Thanks. By the way, when is your birthday?
My birthday's in September. So I'll be 59 this year. So next year I'll be hitting the big version 6.0.
Bingo.
There you go. Yeah.
Are you playing music today?
Yeah. I've built a studio here which I know because we're talking to each other on the camera, you can probably see where our house is in Spain. It's actually an old cow. I'm just spending a lot of time writing and producing, which is what I've been doing today, writing lyrics for the latest song.
Wow.
So it's non-stop.
Interesting. I was wondering if you were still playing music, but I thought anybody that's played with Doctor and the Medics, Nina Hagen, and 3 decades with Rollers is definitely going to still be playing music.
Yeah, you don't really give up.
For those who aren't aware that are listening right now, there is a Cy Mulvey fan page on Facebook, which I joined last week, and I did not know that was there, to be honest, until about a week ago.
Well, that was some very nice Roller fans that had set that up for me. I mean, I have got a Cy. Well, the funny thing was, it was called Cy Roller because it was kind of supposed to be a Facebook page for all things Bay City Roller. And Facebook contacted me and said, "Is that your real name? Can you prove it's your real name?" So I had to not call it Cy Roller anymore, but Cy Mulvey underneath Cy Roller. So there you go. They rumbled me.
Yeah, I had a similar experience, but I'll spare you the details.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people have given me questions to ask you, and so I'm going to fire some of these at you, and if there's any that you're not comfortable with, we'll just simply move on.
Okay.
After Les McEwen, he came out and very bravely admitted to the world that he had issues with alcohol, drugs, sex problems, things like that. Yeah. And I'm wondering, after his stint at that rehab facility, did Les stay sober and clean? And if so, for how long?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the good thing was, I think he had it under control in as much as if he felt like it, he could have a drink, but he could just then have one and stop. He wasn't he didn't have to drink all night until he fell over, if you see what I mean. So, that would take amazing willpower, I would imagine. So, he did great after he came out. Was it called Passages? Was that right, the place?
Yeah, it was. Passages, is it Malibu?
Something like that, yeah.
Well, interesting. I wondered about that. The guy always had a lot of willpower, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly.
Would you consider Les easy or difficult to work with and for?
Oh, he was pretty laid back. He wanted things to be right. I mean, as I started working with him after the first few years, I sort of took up the role of musical director, which is a very sort of posh sounding title, but all it means is kind of organizing things, organizing set lists, organizing rehearsals and all that. So I'd have to have a lot of time speaking to Les and then passing that information down to the band and just make sure that everybody knew what we were doing and when we were doing it. So as long as we had that kind of flow of communication working, everything was hunky dory, really.
Awesome. Did you indulge in much partying back in the day yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, with me, it was mostly alcohol. I was a bit of a vodka and orange fiend, but I've actually stopped drinking now, which is quite nice. Which is ironic because wine in Spain is incredibly cheap. But no, I just So yes, but came out of it unscathed, thankfully.
I know you were a part of the Roller reunion shows, correct? With Les?
Yeah.
What happened, man? Why did that all fall apart?
Well, I don't know that it did fall apart in that sense. I think it was just planned to be as long as it was. They made the record, did the tour, and I think initially it was just let's just do that, see how it goes. So it wasn't like there was anything planned, as far as I'm aware, anyway, that didn't happen. It kind of it lasted as long as it was supposed to, and that was lovely. It's lovely to have Alan on board because he'd been to a few shows. He'd come on board us. We used to do a lot of theatres around the UK, so he would come along and he'd sing Rock and Roll Honeymoon, and a few other pieces, and that was great. He is such a lovely bloke, Alan. That was always fun. But it was a good tour. We enjoyed it, and the fans, the fans were, it must have been lovely for them to see, the three guys back together again.
Oh, for sure. I bet the audiences were just completely insane with joy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And why not, you know?
For sure. I heard that there was some infighting, and that's all. I think maybe between Woody and Les or something.
I think, do you know what? I don't really know what's gone on. I mean, the guys have obviously known each other, or had known each other a long time by that point. So if there was any issues, it was always sort of behind closed doors. It was kept away from, you know, anybody else who wasn't directly involved, to be honest with you. So I can't really say more than that.
Right. Did you know that Alan Longmuir's son Jordan is getting ready to hit Los Angeles to record a version of Baby Please Don't Go?
Baby Please Don't Go. That one. Down in New Orleans. Yeah. You know, I love you so. No, I did not know that.
And we're making a song together in Los Angeles in September.
Fantastic. Well, if you need a bass player, you know where to find me.
Gosh, don't tempt me. Let's see. I probably couldn't afford Josiah. Let's see. Some of the other rumors I heard. Maybe you can clear this up. Maybe you can say you've never even heard of the rumor. But
okay.
Was there ever any Bay City Roller recordings of the Rollers with Clem Burke of Blondie on drums that you know of?
No, not that I'm aware of. I've never heard that there might have been. There was something about Clem now. Did he come to a gig or something? I don't know.
I heard there was talk of a possible super group with like somebody.
I tell you what I think. I've told you I've got the world's worst memory, so I could be completely wrong with this, but I've got a feeling when that reunion tour was first being discussed, there was talk of Clem drumming, and also when Les did, you know, Les had this the Lost Songs album where there were tracks that he'd written some while ago. There was some talk, I believe, of Clem being involved in doing some recording. But as far as I'm aware, it never actually happened. So I'm not aware that it ever happened and anything ever got recorded. What
albums were you involved with recording with Les?
Well, we did one in Japan called Ultimate Live.
Mm-hmm. I've got that.
Cool. We used to do these big 70s arena tours, I should say, with people like the Osmonds and David Essex, David Cassidy, and there was one of those was released as a live album. The other thing that I've interestingly discovered on my computer, in my new studio, I bought a new computer. So I've been getting the information off the old computer, and I've rediscovered probably about 6 or 7 songs that Les and I wrote, and the files are dated as early as 2008 up to about 2012, and that was an album that we'd talked about doing, but because we were so busy gigging and touring, we never got to complete it. The songs are in various, there's 2 or 3 that have finished, and there's a few that are almost just kind of demo level. But I keep finding these songs, and I'm thinking, should maybe try and release these, because as far as I'm aware, that would be the last stuff that Les actually wrote. Because, as I say, the Lost Songs album, of course, was stuff from the 70s. So I'm not aware that he wrote anything after that. So maybe, you know.
I think the fans would really love you if you released that stuff.
Well, we all want to be loved, so I'll try and put my thinking head on and see if that's possible, you know.
Yeah. Are you in touch with Peiko or Juby today?
Yeah, definitely, both of them. Yeah.
Nice. I'm sure they must be like family after all those years.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started the band, I mean, I could be well off the mark, but Juby, I mean, he can't have been much more than sort of 7 or 8 years old. I mean, he's a young man now. And Peiko was always so lovely. Whenever I'd go around to their house, she'd always fix us up some Japanese food. And I remember the first time we flew to Germany, we got out of the cars at Heathrow. She wasn't coming with us, but she gave us all a little package, a little box, and it was sandwiches and a bit of fruit that she'd made for us all to have on the plane, you know. Just a very thoughtful, lovely woman, you know.
Yeah, I've only had a couple of interactions with her that were brief, but she was very, very kind and respectful to me.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that, of course, is the Japanese culture per se. But no, she is those things, definitely. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been great talking to you.
You too.
A variety show, so my time has kind of run out.
Okay.
But, man, I find this to be a highly interesting conversation, and I wish we could go for an hour.
We can do a part 2 another time.
Well, I'd like to ask you more stories about some of the gigs, about
sure.
Nina Hagen, Doctor and the Medic, so maybe part 2 would be actually kind of fun, really.
Yeah, we can do that, absolutely. I mean, we can talk about all those things. I did do a 15-year stint with the Osmonds as well, so we can talk about that. I say 15 years, it might not have been quite that much.
Oh, my God. What else have you done?
This and that, I was cleaning the swimming pool today, so it's not all rock and roll.
I had no idea. You really blown my mind. Let's definitely try to plan for part 2.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
nice.
You listened to an interview with Cy Mulvey, legend. Now, have you always played just the bass guitar, or do you play other things?
No, on a couple of the tours, on the Les tours, we used to do a little acoustic section on a few of them, and I'd pick up an acoustic guitar or play the piano. So, yeah, a bit of everything.
Nice. Yeah. We've had Phil Hendricks and Alex Southgate have both been on the show.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, both great guys, great players. Yeah.
Yeah, both are super cool humans, man. I like those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Cy, thank you for your time. Enjoy your time. And stay off that alcohol. It's good for you.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers and thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Bye.